Now this week has been fun-packed. A lot of things happened in the week whereby it got social media crazy and a lot of people up in emotions. From Sarkodie replying to Yvonne Nelson on what she wrote on her book about him. In politics, we have Jachi Kwesi winning the Ascent North constituency again in a by-election. And also when we move to sports, we have a lot of people being angry about the football establishment in our country because the Black Meteors were kicked out of the 2023 African Cup of Nations. Don't get me wrong, a lot of different things happen in the week, but I think these are the topics that we will discuss in this weekend review. If you've made it this far, please make sure to like, subscribe and share because I have a lot of content coming up your way. So moving on, Sarkodie replied Yvonne Nelson with a track called Try Me. The track released by Sarkodie sought to let us understand his side of the story as pertaining to what Yvonne Nelson said about him in the book. Now I know a lot of you have already heard that track already, and so I'm not even going to bother to play it. A lot of people have had their varying opinions about the track. Some are saying that is the best reply Sarkodie could give because after all he's a rapper. Some also say that he could have used better words, and some don't even agree with the words that he used in the track. Now I strongly believe that both of them are doing this for the sake of showbiz. I strongly believe that Yvonne Nelson is trying to keep the conversation going so as to make more sales. And when it comes to the part of Sarkodie, you could see that recently he just released a track called Confirm. But I think that they want people to keep talking about this issue each and every day until marginal utility sets in. As I said earlier on, many people were not happy about what Sarkodie said in the track. This caused social media to be divided as some Sark natives were doing some serious Ramos job to defend their king. So the following morning, Yvonne Nelson took to Twitter and said that Sarkodie should respect womanhood and advise young ladies to be wary with the men that they are with. Now this didn't go well with some people, as some are saying that Yvonne Nelson threw her own mother under the bus, and so she doesn't have the moral right to tell Sarkodie to respect womanhood. But Sarkodie didn't really respond to her tweets because Sark natives, as I said earlier on, were doing the Sergio Ramos defending. Yvonne Nelson kept on to tweet until some people realized that some of the things that she said in her book does not coincide or is not consistent with the tweets that she is making. Now many of the celebrities in Ghana have made known of their stance in this particular situation. Some of them have chosen to be on the side of Yvonne Nelson just because they disagree with how Sarkodie addressed the situation. Taking what those people said in support of Yvonne Nelson into consideration, some people want to take some old tweets and sayings from those celebrities that support Yvonne Nelson to make them understand how hypocritical some of them can be. Some people have made it known that Yvonne Nelson's book is basically an autobiography. That is a book about her life. And so it didn't warrant that kind of response from Sarkodie. But I also think that if you are going to write an autobiography, a book about your life, and you are going to name drop people, you should also understand that there will be consequences for those type of actions. Moving into the content and the context of the track that Sarkodie did, which some people say it is a reply to Yvonne Nelson. I strongly do believe that if you slap somebody in the face, you don't determine how the person should react against you. For me, if you slap me in the face, be rest assured that I will kick you in the nuts. For every action in nature, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We should understand that anything that we tend to do in life has both positive and negative effects. However, my main concern in this issue is people that are trying to say that Sarkodie could have used better words in terms of his reply. For me, I think that he couldn't have said it any better. This is because we don't get to dictate how people react when we do some things against them. Like I said, if you slap me in the face, be rest assured I will kick you in the nuts. Despite the bad blood, I do wish that they buried the hatchet and let sleeping dogs lie and settle for peace. But I think that most of us are really being unfair to Sarkodie. This is because we are referring to him as an irresponsible guy when in fact they both irresponsibly had unprotected sex. Calling one person irresponsible for an act that two parties did is very, very unfair. But all in all, I do wish that if this is a serious issue and they are not doing this just for showbiz reasons, I do wish that they settle this issue once and for all and let sleeping dogs lie. So moving on, as you and I know, Ghana football is close to dead. This is because the Black Meteors have been eliminated from the 2023 African Cup of Nations hosted in Morocco. And the guys won their first match, lost their second and drew their third, which was not enough for them to qualify for the next stage of the tournament. A lot of well-known sports journalists in our media space has registered their disappointment in this particular campaign by the guys. As to whether this is the worst football administration that we've had in our country is a topic for later. But I do think that the GFA right now lacks focus, vision, and even a sense of direction. Football is the game that we Ghanaians love the most. We've spent a lot of money, a lot of taxpayers' money into this footballing establishment in our country, but we are not getting the satisfactory results that we need. Gone were the days we used to meet African and European giants and not be afraid of them because we could match them boot for boot. But right now we get into a group with Madagascar, Comoros, and all these other countries that were not initially known for being a football powerhouse, and the group becomes difficult for us. The footballing situation in our country is very appalling, but we have to destroy before we elevate. By destroying, I mean that we should look at the constitution, the policies, the strategies that is being used by the Footballing Association. How do we make our football enjoyable again? How do we make football in this country not to become a money-sucking instrument full of vampires? Our football is dead, full of frustrated stakeholders that tend to unleash violence on referees as and when they think they can do that. But my main concern is about how we've watched for our youth football, especially coach football, to be destroyed by these people that tend to be the administrators of football in this country. I can't remember the last time we completed an under 12, 14 and 17 full season. I grew up in Adenta and I understand the role football plays in the life of every young guy who has all odds stacked against him. If you want to know what I am talking about, come to Adenta on the 15th of July so that you know what football really means to the people over there. As I would always say, in this country we will consistently and deliberately decide to vote and appoint incompetent people in power. When they come to office and they decide to also cater to their own selfish needs. A lot of people have spoken about how bad our football is. This current football administration doesn't have any sense of direction, vision, mission or focus. They are just useless. And I'm saying this out of emotions because football is one of the ways that a young guy that has all odds stacked against him could say that I want to live a life just like Michael Essien. I want to live a life just like Asamoah Gyan. But because we have people who have vested interest in our football, those dreams are not going to be realized. I genuinely think that if we want our football to grow, we will need to make a long-term development plan which will focus on the youth, the soft and hard infrastructure that runs the footballing establishment. In 2004, when Germany was embarrassed in the UEFA Euros, they sat down and went to the drawing board. They drew out a 10-year plan of how they want their footballing to be in the next 10 years. What happened 10 years later? They won the World Cup. Are you trying to tell me that we don't have competent people who can sit down and make a 20-year plan so that any leader that comes in that is elected will continue to follow that plan and establish and implement those KPIs for it to be realized? The football in our country is not good. It's going down and is dying down day by day. People are not even interested in listening to radio commentaries or even watching the football of our local league. How then are we going to get sponsors? How then are we going to fill up the stadiums? The monies are only used to pay people's salaries and not even going into useful infrastructural projects that will help the football of our country grow. This is the only game in this country that a lot of people know. This is the only game in this country that can give a nationwide smile. This is the only game in this country that can make a population of over 20 million, 30 million plus to smile because we have one common goal. But we've handed it out to people who are only in for their selfish gains and ruining it for us. I initially didn't want to compare, but when you take the Morocco team that went to the 2022 World Cup and you look at this current Morocco team, that is the under 23, you could see that for 10 to 20 years to come, the Morocco national team will never suffer, because you could clearly see that they will never ever have an issue with transition. But unfortunately, I can't say the same for our Black Stars and our under 23. They're going to have serious issues with transition, because even these guys, the under 23, they're not even that good. In Ghana, we use big names to play football. Asamoah even mentioned it, that some of the players feel too big. Look at the shambolic performance. If they lose ball, they don't even want to defend as a team. All I'm saying is that there's a rot in our football, and we should uproot that rot and start from scratch. If it means that we should develop a 20-year plan of which we will suffer for 20 years, it is good. We should follow that plan and make sure everything is put into place. Now, democracy is the best form of government we will ever have. I doubt that anybody wants to live their lives here in Ghana in a military regime. Jatukwesen won the Asin North by-elections. I've already done a review on the Asin North by-elections. You can look at the card up here, or you can look at the description below and watch that video. That video, I tend to address issues of vote buying and why I think it is very stupid to fight for politicians that don't fight for you in the first place. Still in the issue of vote buying, I think that our politicians know exactly what they are doing when they accuse each other of vote buying. Simply because I don't get why every elections that is held in this country, be it by-elections or general elections, there are always allegations of vote buying from both sides. What I mean is that NPP always accuses the NDC of buying votes, and NDC also accuses the NPP all the time of also buying votes. However, those accusations are political gimmicks played by both sides in order to fulfill, or in order to make them feel good about their false sense of righteousness. If you are neutral watching this video, you and I know that we are sick and tired of NPP and NDC, but they are the best that we've got as a nation. Look at how CPP has fallen as a party. I think that is one of the most unserious political parties in the last 12 years of our country. If we allowed NPP and NDC to play us all the time, we need a third force in this country, but we can't get an alternative. One of the main reasons why I think that we need a third party is because I think that when a third force is introduced into our system that is formidable enough to take on the NPP and the NDC, those two people or those two parties will be on their toes. In a tweet, I saw the EC commending itself for handling peaceful by-elections in the Asin North and the Kumawu constituencies. When you move to the quoted replies of that same tweet, you'll find an MP rubbishing the efforts of the EC. What kind of KG2 politics are we playing in this country? Everything has been politicized in this country to the extent that even if you are making an argument from a neutral point of view, you could be seen as being an NPP or an NDC supporter. Our leaders are very smart people. I mean, you have to be smart to get into such positions. But sometimes the way they talk on TV and radio makes it look like they are children. I mean, how do you rubbish the efforts of a whole electoral commission to say that it is because of your party's determinations that prevented the EC from their usual rigging strategies? Because clearly you didn't win the Kumawu by-elections. So are you saying that the Kumawu by-elections that was won by the NPP was rigged, but the Asin North constituency by-election that was won by you was not rigged? Like I said, what kind of KG2 politics is this? Honestly, we are tired. They are tired.